Welcome to our podcast. I'm Nathaniel. I'm the owner of Small Jobs Electric, and we're really excited to have you listening in on our very first episode here. And we're going to be covering a lot of different topics that are really going to be benefiting our homeowners, tricks and tips for homeowners in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm joined here with Lewis, and he's going to be we're going to be doing some dialogue back and forth today. So we're going to be discussing the history of Small Jobs Electric, how it got started, the foundation, and all that. So we're really excited to have you with us, and we look forward to many episodes that you'll be able to watch.
Thank you for having me here, Nathaniel. Can't wait to talk about it and get things rolling for us.
Yeah. So
take us back. Where did Small Jobs start? The humble beginnings, when it was the smallest it's ever been. How did this all start in here in Tampa?
Yeah, so my folks moved here in 1984. And in 1986, my dad got his electrical contracting license. So Small Jobs Electric was established back in 1986.
Wow. I mean, you guys have been around for 40 years now here in Tampa. How does it feel to be one of the contractors that have lasted this long? You know, usually contractors don't make it past 5 years of being in business. How did you guys stay in business for 40 years?
Well, obviously, it's been an exciting ride. With every company, there's going to be your ups and downs, but we just always focused on taking care of our customers, putting our customers' needs first, focused always on residential service too.
Okay. Small Jobs, it's a very unique name, right? Not a lot of companies are specializing in just small jobs. Is that really what we do, or what would you say about the name? How did that come up?
Well, yeah. So the name Small Jobs, my father, Tom, who and my mom, Maria, are the founders of the company. And my dad just wanted to do small jobs. He wanted to go in, and it was just him in a truck at the time. I was just a little kid. And he would want to, put up fans or run a circuit or wire for a light. Obviously, panel upgrades and troubleshooting, get people's electrical back up and running for them.
So your dad wanted to specialize in the jobs that other contractors wanted to look away from because they weren't big enough, I'm guessing, and then
exactly
he stuck to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. 40 years. That's what we've been doing. Yeah.
Amazing.
We didn't really ever get into the commercial, new construction space. And of course, we wired some homes, some custom homes in Avila and around in Terra Verde and things like that. But our main focus has always been residential service, working directly with the homeowner.
How would you say in the course of 40 years, things have changed around the area? I'm sure you guys have seen it grow, seen a lot of changes. What are the biggest things that you've noticed here in Tampa Bay?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of new communities popping up, older communities, or unfortunately, some of the older homes are getting torn down, and they're, newer homes, bigger homes are getting rebuilt, especially down in South Tampa. And with the hurricane, we had in the last year here or so, unfortunately, a lot of those homes got flooded out too. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of contractors that have come and gone. As you mentioned, a lot of companies don't make it in business.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
5 years is usually when they go out of business. But for being here 40 years, man, we must be doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think actually statistically, companies usually don't even make it to 3 years.
Wow.
So if they even make it to 5 years, they're doing well. But even then, there's no guarantee that they're even going to stay in business to service you, down the road.
How do you you want to maintain customers happy. You want to keep the same customers coming back to the company. How do you do that so well? Why do we have so many customers that are still using us from 40 years ago? I go to a lot of homes where we have our old stickers on the panels still. And
yeah.
They remember your dad.
The old green stickers, right?
Yeah, they remember your dad being in the truck and showing up, and they ask me how Thomas Hull's doing. So how do we keep these customers happy?
I think when you provide, quality service, you answer the phones when people have a problem, there's a warranty issue or anything like that. A warranty is only as good as the company that services it, right? People can say they have warranties, But if you have a hassle, getting a hold of somebody and to make you run through circles or jump through hoops, I should say,
Yeah.
to get anything done, that doesn't really attract people to want to keep doing business with you. So we've always made it really easy to do business with us. We ourselves are consumers, right?
Right.
My wife and I, we hire people, they come out to our house to do things, and we know how we want to be treated. So, in like manner, we're going to treat our customers the same way.
Nathaniel, so you're a little kid, your dad's in a van, you're growing up. When did you decide that you wanted to become an electrician, follow his footsteps? How did that look like for you? And when did you start in a van?
Yeah, I think this is kind of an interesting story, or kind of exciting. At least it has been for myself. So in like I said, our business started in 1986, and I was 6 years old in 1986. I missed the cutoff to start school for a little bit due to my birthday,
Mhm.
and so I would go to work with my dad. Now in 2026, we can't bring our kids to work with
Right.
us, but in 1986, that was okay,
Yeah.
and so I would go with my dad and ride with him, and I'd put together ceiling fan blades. I actually still have customers that remember me as a small child.
Little Nathaniel.
Yeah, little Nathaniel, yep. Going with my dad, and I was just exposed to it at a very young age. I think it was in first grade. We had to do a book report, and my parents actually still have this little 1980s look book report. And I wanted to be an electrician. I was going to
Right.
name the company from Small Jobs Electric to Big Jobs Electric. And my parents kept that book report because they always got a kick out of it.
That's funny.
But yeah, and so every summer I would go with my dad to work and help out. I went to a local vocational school here in Tampa. I went to Tampa Bay Tech. I wound up graduating top of my class there in the electrical program, and then continued on with some night schooling. And then I got my journeyman's license, and then my master's, and then a higher level of the master's license.
Can you tell me any stories you might have with your dad in the van? I'm sure he taught you a lot. I'm sure you guys talked a lot in the van, especially since you were younger. But what did you learn from him the most that was the most important to set the foundation for the company in the future and now you running it?
Always being honest with people. If something happens, a mistake happens, always let the customer know.
Right.
Hey, this is what happened. We'll take care of it for you. You know, um, I think that's the biggest thing. We kind of have a foundation of honesty with customers, and being available for customers, taking care of their needs, and so forth. But there's a lot more to that story. Like any family business, there's a family that's behind the business that helps it grow. So my mom would actually answer the phones.
Okay.
Yeah. So and in back in the 80s and 90s, you could answer the calls. We didn't have cell phones then, so yeah, you would answer the calls until you were done for the day, and it was it. And then it was family time. But yeah, my mom took care of the permitting and did all the paperwork stuff behind the scenes that helped to support my dad in the business. And then I graduated from high school, like I mentioned, and then we just I started working and growing the company.
Things have changed a lot over the years, Nathaniel. I'm sure the viewers want to know something about any craziness. How was it back in the 80s, early 90s with permitting, having to run around, not having phones like we do now and GPSs? Do you have anything to say about that? Maybe how your mom handled all the office stuff and all that stress and paperwork behind everything for you and your dad?
Yeah, and the funny thing is my grandmother actually had Alzheimer's. So not only was my mom having to take care of, all the paperwork and the permits and things like that, but she also had to take care of my grandma. But permitting back then was completely different than it is today. We had to go down to the permitting office, wait, several hours to meet and talk with somebody. we used to have, later on we got pagers.
Right.
So my mom would page us, or my dad would be riding with him, and we get like a little alert, so we'd have to pull over, use a payphone. We don't see those things anymore.
No. No.
We have cell phones today, but yeah. So those things have, technology has helped in those ways for sure. With all that, yeah.
So as far as technology, how's that helping us today? Why? What are the best advancements that you've seen now in technology that are helping us be quicker, get to customers faster, and provide good service for our customers?
Well, obviously, the cell phone, in the late '90s, came out. That was the first big thing, and then the internet was shortly around that point too as well. But we use technology now. We use dispatch programs that help us to route our jobs, schedule our appointments, so we can show up within our time windows. To provide that customer experience that customers are looking for today.
Okay. Nathaniel, we're not the only company in Tampa. A lot of companies are doing service work also, but what makes small jobs different that people are attracted to us rather than using all these bigger names that are coming in or big name companies that are buying out a lot of other companies, smaller and family owned businesses now? How are we getting through that?
Yeah.
That's
Well, you're right. You bring up a good point. There are, a lot of these, corporate America company, organizations that are coming in, and they are buying up a lot of the baby boomer companies.
hmm,
The people my dad's age, they're retiring. There was this idea behind working in a trade, being a blue collar worker, as something that was like a low life,
right.
type of trade. So not a lot of parents push, a lot of parents push their kids into going to college and, getting a white collar career and things like that. So a lot of these baby boomers don't have family members that are actually, you know, picking up, you know, from where their father left off, that generational legacy, you could say,
Right.
like we have at Small Jobs Electric. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but like I said, actually this year is our 40th year being in business. So we've been around for 40 years, which is it's just a huge accomplishment. But yeah, as far as these companies are coming in from out of state. There's companies coming from Texas and other areas that are just what they call them is roll ups. So they go in, they buy companies for pennies on the dollar, and they incorporate them into their business, and they do like they call we do everything.
Yeah.
I call it we do everything, but not anything well.
Yeah.
So whereas for us, we just specialize in one thing.
Right.
And because we've been in the area for so long, like we understand the Tampa Bay area. We understand like the homes that were built in the 1920s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. We know what areas or pockets those homes are in, what type of things to look for. But these companies are coming in, they just care about the money.
Right.
That's all they care about. They've got to make sure their investors are happy with everything. So, the prices, they go from here to way up here. And they're really putting a strain on a lot of companies, unfortunately, because they also have a lot more marketing dollars to handle or deal with.
That's a good point that you bring up. I mean, homes have changed over the years. Homes in the 1920s are not wired the same as homes in 2026. I know you've been in the area now for a long time. You know the area, you know the code. So do you feel like we have an advantage in knowing all these things and working in homes that are different years rather than just homes that are newly built and freshly out the lot, like a car pretty much?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've been doing residential service, really solely for the past 40 years, we've been able to, see the transition. I mean, there was at one point there was not any requirement for smoke detectors, and then smoke detectors went from not being required to, needing two,
Right.
in the house. And then, now they all have to be in, each bedroom and outside the
Right.
bedroom on each landing and all these type of different rules that we didn't have. And now we have carbon monoxide
Yep.
combo smoke detectors. So, yes, for sure, being in the service business for as long as we have, working with our customers and everything, we've been able to see the changes in the code. We understand what the codes were like, back, in the 60s, the 50s versus what they are today.
How difficult is it to work in a house where a lot of contractors that came through, house built here in the 40s, Tampa's been around for a long time, houses from the 1900s, late 1800s. A lot of people have came through those houses. How do you get through those obstacles? It must be hard to troubleshoot or fix things or even just rewiring them. A lot of these homes are still working off of old knob and tube here in the Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it's funny. Just sometimes just talking to homeowners and trying to help them to appreciate the hazards
Mhm.
of having a home that's built in 1920 that still has wiring that's 100 years old. Unfortunately, they think you're just trying to sell something to them, but you're really trying to like actually help them and
Right.
protect them.
But then what makes a great electrician rather than a good one?
Well, what makes a great electrician? Details, listening to your customer, what they're looking for. Look, everybody that's an electrician should be able to wire a ceiling fan or, install a fixture, things like that, right? But what makes the difference between one electrician and another is really listening to the customer, understanding what the customer wants, what their outcome is of the project, what they see, and giving customers options too. Customers like options, right?
Mhm.
Keeping up with the latest codes because codes change every 3 years. We get an updated code book. So those are just a few things that I would say. Obviously, in this day and age, making sure that the electrician coming to your house is like background checked and drug tested.
Right.
Uh, you would be amazed, Lewis, at how many people that we interview and they can't pass one or all of those
Right.
requirements. And if that's the case, we don't even consider them
Right.
because that person's going to be a representation of Small Jobs Electric in the Tampa Bay area. So we don't want to send anybody into someone's home that we wouldn't send into our own home.
Absolutely. What's one mistake that you see a lot of customers make when hiring an electrician to come service their home?
Well, I think it's going to vary, right, depending on the situation. But I think sometimes people think that well, I'm going to get three estimates because I need to get the cheapest person. And I do believe it's good to be educated. We have a lot of information on the internet today. Some of it, some of it's right, some of it's like way off. Like
Right.
it's going to cost me, X amount of dollars to, replace my panel.
Right.
When in fact, when you get out to it's the internet has no way to know what exactly is involved with your
No.
particular project, right? So I think it's good for homeowners to be open about those things, listen to what they're going to be getting, what warranties they're going to have, what kind of reputation. I think it's important that companies or a consumer looks at a company's reviews, not just on Google, but check out the BBB.
Mhm.
You know, you'd be surprised. Companies that have 5-star reviews, but they have four or five complaints on them with the BBB. Companies that have all 5-star reviews is also not realistic. That could be a red flag.
Right.
No company is going to be perfect
No.
100% of the time. Imperfect people, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. It's what those companies do to learn from the mistakes, right? Well, how do they respond to their customers? How do they follow up when there's an issue? You know. Um, so yeah.
So for our audience, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching us and wondering how can they hire Small Jobs Electric? What's the easiest way that they can make contact with us and maybe give us a call or send them us a message? How can they contact us to get their home service or maybe get some things checked out that they've been putting off for a little while?
Yeah, they can go to our website, smalljobselectric.com. So they can find us that way. They can fill out a form. Um, they can also call us. Our number is 813 So they can reach us that way. They can find us on our Google My Business listing. Um, there's a lot of different ways they can find us.
Can you think back in time, maybe to a customer in a bad situation that you might have saved them right then and there? Maybe a quick emergency job that might have changed somebody's whole day.
So one that stands out is a client in Seminole Heights area, actually in Tampa, and she called in saying that every time she turned on the kitchen faucet, the lights in her house would come back on,
Mm,
and they were kind of like flickering. I was like, okay, that's interesting. So we went out there. She had some plumbers doing some work, and it turned out that when the plumbers had disconnected, that the old galvanized water line at the street, because it was an old house, it was actually acting as a ground.
mm.
And so the water line, like the water streaming from the spigot down to the sink, was magically creating, I guess, enough of a ground connection that the current was flowing through there instead of through the ground, because they had lost the ground. And they had
Wow.
been actually having a problem for a while. And so that could have been a serious situation where somebody could have gotten hurt.
Absolutely.
And we were able to, figure out the problem in a very, quick manner and provide a solution. And we were able to take care of them that day.
Wow. Seems pretty dangerous. I mean, so what are,
There's just so many
yeah.
examples, from storms. We had one customer that was in a mobile home actually, and we just showed up, and their surge protector inside their house. They had one of those like power strips,
Mhm.
and it had caught fire, and it had caught the blinds on fire, and it was all because they were having an electrical issue.
Right.
So we were able to help put that fire out real quick for them, and then figure out what was the cause of this, why did this happen, and again we were able to figure out what happened,
Right.
and then get them back up and running.
Those things seems to catch fire a lot. I ran into a couple of those calls where
Yeah,
where those things have been on fire. And I remember one time in St. Pete, I went to a house and same thing. It was their whole drywall was sooted black. They had the fire department there the night before, and it was one of those strip surge protectors. They had a bunch of things plugged into it, maybe a space heater or something like that. It was too much power for those little cheap thin wires they put inside of them. And I think they had lost a neutral too, so they were getting more voltage through those lines there than what they should have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Nathaniel, Tampa's pretty big. There's a lot of surrounding cities as well. Our viewers are going to want to know, where do we service? I mean, how far out do we go? How many houses can we get to? And what are the areas that we cover the most?
Yeah, so we started in Hillsborough County, and as we've grown, we've expanded our reach and our area. So we have been servicing, I should say, Pinellas County and Pasco County for the better part of 30 plus years, from the beginning. And it's in part because we understand that people aren't going to have an emergency or need something done in any one particular area at any one particular time. So we try to give ourselves, the option, or have our clients be able to reach out to us regardless of where they might live in a reasonable service area.
So we've covered a lot of the company here. We've learned about a lot about the history, but viewers are going to want to know, what are we going to talk about next? What are we going to cover in the next episodes? And what are the important things that we're going to be addressing around here in the Tampa Bay area, Pasco County and Pinellas counties?
Yeah. Well, we definitely, part of doing this podcast is to provide real value to whoever's watching it, right? Whether it be somebody in the Tampa Bay area or Pinellas or Pasco, or outside of the area, right? So we're going to be talking about, like, how much how much should something cost? Kind of general, like I mentioned before, and like EV chargers. What are some of the benefits? What are some of the risks? When should you upgrade your electrical system? Those GFIs that always trip at your house, where are they at? What are they for? What do they do? So we're gonna be taking some of your questions too. And this way, if you have any questions or a topic you'd like to hear about, make sure you comment in here so that we can do a podcast about that. We can discuss a little bit more on any particular topic that interests our watchers.
Right. Things don't trip for any reason. There's always a hidden mystery behind it, a hidden story behind every trip breaker, every trip GFI. So I'm sure we'll be able to educate a lot of our clients here
Yep.
on what might be going down
Yep.
deeply inside their electrical system.
Yeah. I know some of the other topics we're going to be covering are like, generators,
Mhm.
generator safety, portable versus standby generator.
Mhm.
I know that's a topic a lot of people, wonder about, preparing for hurricanes. I know this isn't on the topic, but well, when we get to it on the hurricane
Right.
one, just some of the scary things that people did
Oh yeah.
for electrical stuff during the hurricane with the flooding is just insane.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really interesting podcast
Oh
we're
yeah.
going to talk about.
Definitely. There's going to be a lot to talk about in that.
Yeah. We want to thank our watchers for, watching our first podcast here. We really appreciate everybody that's been listening in, watching us. We're real excited about this. Is obviously, this is our first one, and it's only going to get better from here. But we like to thank all of our super customers and our future customers as well for taking the time to watch
Thank you
our
guys.
first podcast here.
Yeah, we definitely
with
appreciate all
Lewis.
of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me here, Nathaniel.
Yeah.